Hello, neighbors. My name is Ali, and I moved to Oklahoma recently. I bought a house in the greater Oklahoma City area, and I just wanted to take an opportunity since my Christian neighbors has here in my neighborhood has welcomed me with open arms, with no judgment. Came to my house 2 days ago, the first 2 days that I was here, and welcomed me to the neighborhood. And they fixed me a fresh loaf of bread that my whole family really, really enjoyed. So it got me thinking that I should probably introduce myself to everybody in Oklahoma. It might seem pretty strange, but I kind of feel like I have to because there's so much misunderstandings out there in the world these days, especially between Christians and Muslims. A lot of Americans, the media has been saturated with misinformation about Islam and Muslims in general. So I kind of wanted to just, and I'm not angry or anything. It's really, really hot out here. Yeah, y'all know that it's really, really hot. I believe it's 104 degrees right now. I'm outside on my porch, and the sun is like almost shining in my eyes. So I'm not upset. I'm not an angry Muslim. Trust me. So I was born and raised in this country. Um, I come from Washington State, but 95% of my family is that we're Norwegian and Irish, and we're born and raised here. I believe I'm fifth, sixth generation American. We came in through Norway and Ireland through North Carolina, and then we kind of migrated west to Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas, and Oklahoma. Um, so I just wanted to, one, introduce myself. I'm a big rig truck driver, and I kind of wanted to just, put everybody. There's a lot of misinformation. I keep on repeating that. Let me get into it. Um, People think, and I've got a couple of looks, and my wife have got a couple of looks when we were in Oklahoma in the past 2 weeks. Nothing huge for the most part. I I mean, I love being here. I love, number one, I love being in a red state, a conservative red state, that has some diversity in it. I think diversity, and what I mean by diversity is racial, uh, not talking about the alphabet people or anything, but I think that diversity, racial and ethnic is needed everywhere. Um, but I'm seeing, my wife got a couple of look by some bikers yesterday, and I just thought it was funny that people are, um, I don't know, afraid, or they have misinformation, or I don't want to say intimidated. I don't think anybody is intimidated by Muslims. I think there's a lot of maybe some um, some concepts about the Islamic religion which are misrepresented in the news. So if you see me on the street, if you see me in the grocery store, pull me to the side and ask me a question. I became a Muslim 30 years ago. I come from a Christian background. Um, it doesn't bother me that you're Christian. It doesn't bother me that you're Southern heritage. I also have Southern heritage through my mother and my father, my grandparents. A lot of Muslims, I can only speak for myself, an American Muslim. Um, I'm not here to change anybody. I'm not here to take over, or um, have an influence and cause the society to change. We bought a house out here in in the greater Oklahoma City area because it was affordable, because it's a red state, because it's conservative, because um, a lot of things because the conservative Christians here morally align with what we believe as well. So as you compare Washington State to Oklahoma State, we'll take Oklahoma State any day. And I think that conservative Christians and Muslim conservatives like myself need to really put down the guard a little bit and talk to each other. We don't have to be best friends. We don't have to hold hands and walk down the street together. But we do, as Americans, American Christians and American Muslims, we have to at least minimum understand each other and be cordial with one another. Now, being a Muslim in Oklahoma State, I know that no Christian is going to come up to me and, force me to become a Christian. That should also be understood from the Christians as well. Look, if you would like to know about Islam, which is an Abrahamic faith, it's really, really easy to understand Islam. I think a lot of the confusion comes from maybe you're not used to seeing maybe immigrants in your community. I think a lot of it has to do with culture. And I kind of agree with you there in that sense, because there is a difference between culture and Islam. Some of the people, some immigrants that come to this country, they like to mix their culture with Islam. And I won't go into too much of what that means, but y'all know what I'm talking about. They confuse the two. Is there lunatics amongst us? Is there terrorists? Yeah, I'm sure there is. Is there, some right-wing nut jobs from amongst the Christians and the atheists and this and the left wing and the right wing? Yeah, sure. But I've been a Muslim for, this October will be 31 years. And I've lived in Egypt, I've lived in Yemen. I've talked to I don't think there's not one ethnicity that I haven't spoken to and learned about their culture, where they're from and what type of people that they are. And I kind of want to set the record straight. The immigrants that come to this country, you may not like them, but they're not here to take your country over. We are still the minority inside of the minority. Nobody wants to change your communities. I live in Oklahoma for 2 weeks. I've been to OKC, I've been to Edmond, I've been to Yukon, I've been to Guthrie, I've been to Bethany, I've been to a lot of cities around here. I don't see a whole lot that does need to change. I, as a Muslim, can appreciate that there's so many churches around here. See, in Washington State, you don't really have a lot of churches. You have a lot of people that are atheist, that are mad at God or against God and refuse to believe in God because of whatever happened in their life. So when I see churches and life centers and everything around my area, it's relieving that people believe in God. We may not see eye to eye and agree theologically, but as a Muslim, I appreciate that you are conscious of a higher power. I really am. So if you ever see me, if you ever see me in a store, say, hey, Ali, you're the guy from YouTube that I saw on YouTube. Hey, I have some questions about Islam. Ask me. If you don't want to come to the mosque or ask that, you feel uncomfortable, I don't care. Even if you're a racist, it doesn't bother me at all. Come up and ask me the tough questions. I'm here to answer your tough questions. As long as you're respectful, as long as it's not, combative or anything like that. Yeah, I can talk. I've talked to people for, almost 31 years about Islam. I've been asked, do you hate Jesus? Do you hate Christians? Are you here to take over America? I've heard all of those questions. And by the way, I think that we need to be having conversations like that as Muslims and Christians to minimum understand each other, right? So come up to me, say, hey, you're the guy that I saw on YouTube. Hey, I had a couple of questions for you. You know, come up to me and ask me the tough questions. If you don't feel comfortable asking, somebody who, recently moved to the country, or, you don't feel comfortable coming up to the mosque and, asking, the difficult questions, or you're afraid that you might say, oh, this guy is going to call me an Islamophobe because I asked this question. With me, you're not going to get that, because I've heard all the questions before, and I understand. I understand that why you might think the things that you think because of the saturation of the misinformation in the media. I truly understand, and I can see where people might get a little bit alarmed by the Muslim presence in their city, and the growing presence. I don't think you have anything to be worried about. Just stay vigilant against terrorism. Whether it's in the Muslim community or in the Christian community or in the whatever community, just stay vigilant. That's all we can do, without being suspicious of each other. It kills me that my neighbors would think that I would ever want to harm them, that I would ever want to change them, that I look down upon them. It kills me that my neighbors would feel afraid of me. That's not the way that I want to live, and that's not my Islam. Islam tells us to be good to your neighbor. Islam tells us if you go to sleep and your neighbor is hungry, you're not a Muslim. So let's have those conversations that are way, way overdue. Pull me to the side. Extra points to you if you invite me over for a coffee. I love coffee, Black Rifle coffee especially. That's some good stuff. Starbucks, it's okay. But never feel like you can't approach another American citizen in your own country to ask the questions at least. If we don't ask questions of each other, the suspicions are going to win. The fear is going to win. The mistrust is going to win, and it's going to grow and grow and grow and grow until we hate each other. And that's, who wants that? Nobody wants that, right? I don't want that. None of the Muslims that I know want that. At least let's be cordial with each other. Let's speak to each other. Let's be neighborly of each other. I'm ready to extend my hand. I've been willingly extending my hand for almost 31 years as a Muslim, as an American Muslim who was ex-military, and I used to be Christian, so I understand. I was on the other side of the coin. Islam is a universal religion. It's not so strange as you think. When you open up the Quran, it's full of stories that are in the Bible. It's, like I said, it's an Abrahamic faith. I think people are wrapped up on the cultural aspect of it. I think people are wrapped up in the what they see on the news of Islam being a violent religion, or these are a bunch of ragtag type of extremists. I can guarantee you, I've been in the religion for almost 31 years. 99.9% of the people that I have met are very peaceful people, are very family oriented, very wise, very intelligent, very financially successful in their communities. And violence is the last thing that they're even considering. We all just want to make, I have 7 kids. I have my wife and 7 kids. Just like you, I have kids, you have kids, you have a house, I have a house, we have dreams, we have careers, you have your religion, I have my religion. You may not agree with my religion, I may not agree with your religion, but that doesn't mean that we have to live in fear of each other. That doesn't mean that we can't be neighbors and help each other out. That doesn't mean that we can't have conversations with each other and, give a little bit of give a wave when you see your neighbor. I try to wave at everybody that I can. And I just love it here in Oklahoma that people are so friendly. I lived there for 22 years and none of my neighbors invited themselves. I'm guilty of that too. I didn't invite myself. I didn't introduce myself to my neighbors in Washington. It's just, I don't know, it's kind of like that in Washington State up north, So I guess my last request is don't buy into this hype that you believe that you'll be less of a Christian if you are cordial to your Muslim neighbor or community, somebody in your community, whatever. You're not going to be less of a Christian. You're going to be more of a Christian for following the teachings of Jesus, peace be upon him. Love thy neighbor, loving your neighbor, not coveting what he has, I think that I know that, especially here in Oklahoma, that we're better than that. My grandfather, my grandmother, my uncles, my cousins, everybody's here in Oklahoma. And they don't act like that. They're not bigoted or racist and I know that the majority of Oklahomans are not like that. This video is for the people, the Oklahomans that are suspicious or wary of Muslims. And this is not a challenge. This is me extending my hand to you, just so we can understand each other, just so we can take the first step towards each other, to get on with our lives, to get the information about each other, so we don't have to be so standoffish about each other. That's my only intention in making this video. I hope everybody has, it's 104 degrees out here. It's a little bit hot, but I'll tell you what, I wouldn't change it for the world. I love Oklahoma. I love being here. I'm looking forward to meeting more of my neighbors and more people in my community that are Muslim, that are Christian, that are Jewish, that are whoever. I'm looking forward to meeting you and having conversations, polite, cordial conversations. Hope you all enjoy the rest of your weekend, what's left of it, and you have a great week. See you later.